Hi, I'm Donna Jordan from Jordan Fabrics. Today we are going to make something out of Americana fabrics. This is a really fun project because we're going to make a patchwork that we can use either for a pillow or for a placemat. So let's get started. The patchwork we're going to make is going to resemble an American flag. So we're going to do one big square here, and this is going to be cut 7 3/8. Then we're going to do some stripes over here. We're going to use red and cream fabrics, and each one is going to be cut 1 7/8 by 11 1/8. Then down here we need some longer stripes, and these are going to be cut 1 7/8 by 18 inches. I'm going to use a variety of different reds here, but you could use only one red print if that's all you have. I'm going to use this blue star print up in the corner here. Here is exactly what you need. You need the 7 3/8 inch square out of the blue. Then from the cream, you need a couple of 11 1/8, a couple 18s. Red, again, you need some 11 1/8 and some 18s, and that will make the whole top. At that point you can decide, do I want to make a pillow or a placemat? And then we're going to need some backing, 16 inches, the whole width of the fabric for the pillow. If you're making a placemat, you can cut it down to 16 by 20. Now, Matt has already cut out the pieces for me, so my pieces are all right here. So go get yours cut, and then we will stitch this up. I have all of my pieces laid out here, and I've turned it sideways so I won't knock them off as I'm sewing. I like to get a nice blend, and I like to balance things. So I put these two reds with a little space between them, and I spread these out a little bit. So I just messed around with the layout till I have them the way I like it. First step, we're going to sew all these side by side. So I'm using a careful 1/4 inch seam. And this part just goes really fast. The whole project goes really fast. And I'm going to finger press all of the seam allowances toward the darker color. We'll just sew all these pieces side by side. That's all stitched together. Now we're going to use the same procedure and stitch the long strips together. Again, finger press toward the dark side. Now we are going to take these strip units over to the ironing board. Let's get them nice and flat. Because we finger pressed, they're pretty flat. I like to flatten it with my hands first so I can feel that the seam allowances are all going the correct direction. Then I'm going to start ironing. And if you're unsure if those seams are going the right way, flip it over and check before you use the steam. Same thing on this. It really helps if you hand smooth it out and make sure everything looks straight, because it's possible to iron it wavy, and I don't want my flag waving at this point. I would like it nice and straight. Now this patchwork is exactly the same size as our square. So let's stitch this on. And I am going to press these seams towards the blue, and I'm going to just finger press it right now. And then this now fits right on here. So I'm going to put that on there and stitch down, and the top will be done. Give it one more really quick pressing. All of the patchwork is done. Went really, really fast. Now we can use this to make either a pillow or a placemat. And I'm going to show you how to make both. Let's start with the pillow. It really will make your pillow look a lot better if you put some batting behind the pillow top. I'm just going to stay stitch around the edge here so that everything will stay together. This is a step that holds the top to the batting to keep it from moving, and this won't show on our finished project. I'm just going to do some very simple quilting. I'm going to go in the ditch right here. It's really not even going to show, but it gives the pillow top just a little bit of texture, a little bit of dimension. They call this stitching in the ditch. We like to call it stitching near the ditch. I try to get in the ditch. It sounds easy, but it's actually kind of challenging, and I'll show you. So that whole line was completely in the ditch. This line here, see how I went over a little bit and I'm a little bit on that blue? You can't really tell, but if you're real picky, you could take that out and get it better in the ditch. I'm not that picky. This is close enough for me. I'm going to stitch the rest of this line here. You could go ahead and stitch all of the rest of the ditches if you like. I'm just going to do this one. Now we're ready to put the back on. Here's my 16-inch piece of fabric. Selvages are there. I'm going to split it along the fold here. And I'm going to take this first piece and fold back about 4 inches and put this a little bit beyond the center of the pillow. Then I'm going to take the other piece with the selvage and I'm going to overlap it. I'm going to move it down about 2 inches beyond this one, beyond the other half. I'm going to pin around the edges, and then that line of stitching that we use, the stay stitching line, we are going to use that as a guide for how to stitch the back on. So I'm going to put some pins in because I can't see what I'm doing when I flip this over, and we'll flip the whole thing over and stitch around. Now we're going to stitch right inside this line, maybe 1/8 of an inch inside that line. You do want to take those pins out before you get to them. Once that's stitched all the way around, trim off the excess batting and backing. And don't trim it too close. You can trim the corners off here, but leave about 1/2 inch of batting. That will help fill up the edges of the pillow so that it doesn't look baggy on the pillow form. Now we can turn the pillow right side out. And the first thing I'm going to do is poke out the corners. You can either use your fingernail or there's little tools that will help you poke these out so they're nice and square. Then we're going to press the edges down a little bit. So you can just hand press this. And now we can put the pillow in. These pillow forms, I got this at Joann's. They have them at any craft store. This is a 12 by 16 inch pillow form. And we are just going to put in the one side, put in the other side. And give it a good smashing so that everything gets evened out. There we go. Now I'm going to show you how to make the placemat. I have the top already done. I've got my backing on top of the batting, and we're going to do a flip finish. So we're going to put this right sides together, and we're not going to use binding to finish this placemat. I'm going to stitch this front to back using a 1/4 inch seam, and I'm going to back tack at the beginning and the end, and I'm going to leave an opening, and that's how I'm going to flip it. So I'm going to stitch all the way around and stop about 5 inches from where I started. Now I'm on the last side here, and here's where I started, and I need to get my hand in here. So I'm going to just put my hand there and use that as a mark for where I'm going to stop, and be sure to back tack. Now trim off the batting and backing so it's even with the top all the way around, and a little extra in the corners. Now we're going to reach between the top and the back, and we're going to turn this right side out. Poke out the corners as best you can, and then I like to smash it. So I'm kind of hand pressing it there, and that one is not real square yet. So I'm going to take a kind of dull needle and pull that out a little more. Here's another method that works good. Put your thumbnail in on the front side, and then I'm going to pinch it on the back side with this finger and then poke there. That one turned out much better. And again, once you've got it flipped, squish it. It'll tend to stay then. Now we're going to flatten it out. So I'm going to hand press it a little from the back and from the front. And I'm going to show you a hint to get that seam right in the middle there. I'm going to squish this over a little bit. Now the batting is up against that backing, and so this seam allowance wants to go that way. So I am going to finger press right along there, almost to the corners. Then I'm going to squish it back down and hand press, and that is going to make it so there's no divot in there, no ditch, and that seam is right along the edge. So I'm going to do that for every side. So just squish it over a little bit and finger press that seam nice and flat. Then squish it again, even flip it over, hand press, and you can get that nice and in the middle all the way around the placemat except at the opening, which we will do at the very end. There's my opening, and I've got it pinned, and I've just finger pressed it a little bit. The easiest way for me to sew this opening, well, the best looking way would be to whip stitch it by hand, but I almost never do any hand stitching. But if I flip it over from this side, I can stitch real close to the edge and you won't see the stitching very much. So I'm going to hold this part tight like this and take my pin out, make sure everything is turned in, and just do a very, very narrow closure there. There's a lot of products out there that you can use to get an opening like this closed. There's some glues and some tape, but I find if I just get it nice and flat, that opening is not really going to show much. Now I'm going to quilt this. So let's start right here in the middle, and I'm going to go right in the ditch. You could do fancy quilting on here if you want, but I like to keep it simple. I think the patchwork is pretty fun, so I just don't want to take away from that at all. I'm going to go up the blue here, and then I'm going to go ahead and quilt on every single seam. I'm really happy with how the pillow and placemat came out. Of course, I had to make 2 pillows and 2 placemats. It's a really fun size. Now my pillow cover came out a little bit too large, so I turned it back inside out and took my seam just a little bit bigger all the way around, and now it fits a little bit better. Here's the placemat that we made with the flip finish, and you can see the quilting on the back. Really fun, and you can hardly see the opening there where I stitched it up. Of course, if you would rather bind them, they do look really nice with binding around the edge too. I really like how that finishes it off. So Get your red fabrics, your cream fabrics, your red, white, and blue fabrics, and make a lot of fun pillows and placemats. Thanks for watching.